Dang, we are so long overdue for another monthly wrap-up video. It has been too long since we sat down and talked about some games super chill like this. Hello everyone and welcome back to the Wolf Pack. It has been nuts these past couple months. I think, let's see what's happened. It's been a blur. So Santa Rosa happened where we went up north, and then we had Essen. And then as of right now, I do want to put one thing on your radar. I think the most immediate project that I have is going to be Avalon, the Riven Veil, which is launching on November 12th. I'm going to leave a link to the campaign. It's not a sponsored video at all, but I'm super excited about it. And we haven't filmed it just yet, but I have been getting some playthroughs of it. And I'm just going to say that I'm super excited about it. And I am jumping at the idea of just being able to show you all what I have planned. Has it been filmed yet? No. Has it been edited yet? Of course not, because it hasn't been filmed yet. But the idea is there, and I think it's gonna be super cool. But until then, I hope you all are having a wonderful week, happy weekend, and I hope you all had some wonderful gaming for the past 2 months, and Halloween actually was the most recent one. So if any of you had some awesome Halloween titles that got played, go and let me know down in the comments below. And now, let us begin our journey, our trek through all the games played from September through October. I think actually these past 2 months have been the most games played, which is freaking phenomenal. I got to play so many different games. And we started off actually with Neopets Battle Dome, the trading card game. This one's really fun. It is a very light TCG though, and I did get like a booster box. I still haven't opened yet. I have a ton of booster packs still, but I still like to collect it. It's not very nostalgic for me because I didn't really grow up with Neopets. Like I always knew of it, but Pokemon was like my thing. And Neopets, I think more recently, it's a fun little mechanic to play, and I think it's really easy to introduce to kids. And I play that with my niece and also with Josh too. So it's a very easy light game, and I like the dice rolling in it, and that's why I continue to play that one. Now, next after that, we got to play the one and only Andras Edge. I got this played so many times. You know what? I'm just going to count up real quick. 1, 2, 3, 8 more games played in the past 2 months of Andras Edge across 2, 3, 4, and 5 player counts. And it's been so much fun. I haven't gotten any solo games of Andras Edge played just yet, just because when I do play solo, I want to play Oorn. That's like my dedicated solo game, and I want to like continue to finish that one. But until then, I did get most factions played. I think I'm missing 2 more factions. I just recently played as the Crawlin, and what they do is like they can hatch ships from different locations on the board, so positioning is super important. And other than that, I have not gotten the Dwarves played at all, and they score points for like having columns of all different colored modules on your player station. That's the one that Devin played in our most recent gameplay video of Andras Edge. And it's one of the factions. I have to look through all them all and see which one is the last one remaining that I haven't played just yet. But other than that, I'm glad I got to play through almost all the factions. I also introduced this game to a ton more people. And surprise, surprise, everyone has enjoyed it so much. I also got to hear that a lot of people got to purchase and experience Andras Edge over at Essen as well, which obviously makes me super happy. So other than Andras Edge, that was for, let's see, September 5th. Moving on to September 6th, I got into Oorn again, and I haven't gotten to it since. It's been so much fun. I've gone through chapter 8 now of Oorn, and the reason why I love this solo game so much is because the campaign is just riveting. It always keeps you on the edge of your seat, and I feel like I'm always thinking about the game. Like, I think you truly love a game when you can just casually read the rulebook on the side just for fun. And I do that with Root, I do that with Oorn, I do that with Andras Edge. Because I, A, make sure I want to make, like, if I'm playing this the entire time, I want to make sure I'm getting every single rule correct. And B, it's also very satisfying to know that I can like answer any question on the go. Like I'm also pretty active on the Andras Edge Facebook group, and every time someone asks a question, I'm always like, if I can get to it right away before someone else can, I'll answer it. Or like in my head, if I can just answer it top of my head, like that's very satisfying for me to do. So those are some games that I just absolutely love, and I just can't stop playing Oorn. But we still have 12 more chapters to go, so it's a big mission left, and I don't see this game getting played anytime soon. Really sad. But you know, it is what it is. Gotta put food on the table first, y'all. After that, gotta play AE again, and then we moved into Harvest, which, you know, this one surprised me a lot. It's not that I was surprised that this game wasn't something I wasn't going to enjoy, but it's way more thinky than I thought it's gonna be. And in Harvest, it's a worker placement game, and you're ultimately trying to build a very efficient farm. But what's really cool is that there are endgame scoring conditions from tiles that you get to place onto your farming board. And I don't think you're really meant to clear your entire farm because it does have elements of like Animal Crossing in it because you are supposed to clear land, like the whole farming sim type game. Like this is Harvest because you clear land and then once you clear a forest, then you can build stuff there. So you're trying to build a very efficient engine when playing Harvest, and I really enjoyed it because it's super thematic. I love the little enemy pools that you can use and everyone has an asymmetric power. Or if you want to introduce it to a lighter group, you can also give everyone no powers at all, and that way it's very straightforward. But I think the game overall is pretty straightforward to play because you take your wheelbarrow or enemy pool for the deluxe version and you put it on different spots on the board, and it'll do different things like going to the market to trade your resources or farming and tending, and you're proliferating all of your little vegetables. And I think it's a really fun casual game for fall, and I just think it's an all-around great game, definitely staying in my collection for that. Now after that, we got to play Root. Let's see, Root also got played a ton of times these past 2 months. 1, 2, 3 times this month. And I got to play as multiple different factions. I think I played as the Woodland twice and I won with the Woodland twice. Every time I play the Woodland, I'm not trying to toot my own horn here. Maybe I am, because I rarely win games. Every time I play as the Woodland in my game group, I've always won. And they are growing to become like my favorite faction to play just because I don't think anyone really knows how to play against them yet in my gaming group. So it's just satisfying to play with because everyone likes to attack me. And for the Woodland Alliance, if people attack you, you actually generate more actions on your turn. Because I normally like to play as the rats, which are hyper aggressive. But the thing about the rats is that they have a very bad comeback system. Once I'm taken out as the rats, I'm pretty much done for the game because it's so hard to come back. And I haven't found a very efficient way to make a comeback with the rats just yet. So you really have to start out kind of staying in one spot and really biding your time. And I don't really like biding my time in games. I kind of like to just go straight into it. But I think with the rats, you do have to bide your time at first and then spread like wildfire towards the end game. So they're a very slow burn type faction, even though they're aggressive. And then the Woodland counters that because once everyone attacks you as the rats, like you're kind of done. But then if everyone attacks you as the Woodland, it's a great thing because then you get to spread more and more sympathy out to the Woodland and everything. There's a reason why Root is on my top 5 board games of all time, and it continues to get played, especially since everyone hasn't experienced every faction yet. So truly, every game that we play is very different, and it feels so unique. Now after that, I got to play a game that I do want to make a dedicated review on, and that is Slay the Spire, the board game. Now, if you all have been following my channel, you know that I'm not the biggest fan of co-op games. Like we'll play co-ops here and there, but it's not our go-to for gaming nights. Usually we play competitive all the time because everyone that I play with is competitive. And it's funny because Slay the Spire manages to do things that I think no other co-op has really done, which is, even though it is a co-op game, I didn't teach it really as a co-op to my gaming group. And let me give you a second so I can explain. I know it's not gonna make sense for a second, but in Slay the Spire, you're trying to climb a dungeon together. And even though you're climbing this dungeon together, you have to make sure, and when you're climbing this dungeon together, for every single spot that you're fighting against an enemy, because it's a dungeon crawler, right? So almost each spot, you have an enemy to fight, either an enemy or a boss, or you can go to a campfire to regain health because your health carries over from encounter to encounter. And if you play the app, it's literally just like the app, which is a fantastic translation to that. Okay, let me backtrack. It's not that I lied to them and said that it wasn't a co-op. It's that I kind of just structured it as a regular game and said that we have to win this together. And I think they didn't realize that they were playing a co-op until much later. Because in the game, normally, if anyone dies, your group is done. But we've been playing it so that way, as long as one person survives, then you can continue on with the dungeon. And I think it's been super fun because everyone has an asymmetric ability and we really are helping each other out as we're killing each other's slimes. So there's a lot of very interesting teamwork happening here. And even though it's like the weirdest thing to say, it's like, even though it is a cooperative experience, it doesn't feel like other co-ops. Like I feel very unique in what I have to do and that everyone always has something pivotal to contribute to the battle overall. Plus, you're also deck building and you're spending a lot of time using your abilities and having this hand management, which is very seamless. And I feel like the combination of you playing cards and getting stronger and upgrading your cards together alongside deciding which path to go makes it extremely fun and a co-op like no other that I've experienced so far. So I really, really love that game and we will continue to play that one co-op for sure. Okay, now after that, Essen happened, and then I got to play Kabanga over dinner with Austin Harris, Shay Parker, Becca Scott, and Grant Lyon. Such a fun group. And Grant brought over and taught Kabanga, which I think is a very easy light card game. Ultimately, you're trying to get rid of your hand of cards. And when you do, you're supposed to play your card to a colored row. And in the row of cards, you also have like a set difference. Like if there's an 8, you want to make sure there's the smallest difference possible between 8 and 6. So like there's 2 numbers that people can play. They can play a 7 and then call Kabanga, and then I think you have to play another card or something like that. It's a super light, easy card game that you can play over dinner, and then I think it's one of those games where I'm glad that someone else brought it and that they had it and that I got to experience it, but it probably won't be one that I would buy myself. And then from there, got to play some more AE, and then Lorcana. Oh my goodness, this game got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 plays of Lorcana over these past 2 months. And what I've done with Lorcana, I think I'm full forced into it now. Aside from getting so many new accessories and stuff like a deck box and a binder that you might have seen from my board game haul from Essen, I've been playing this with my niece, and how I've kind of motivated her to play more is that, well, I bought the first chapter booster box, which can contain an enchanted Elsa. And she loves Elsa. So I don't want to get her hopes up, but I told her, I was like, hey, Elsa can be in here. And how we can open packs is every time we play a game together, whoever wins gets to open 1 booster pack. That's it. And that right there is the ultimate motivation. It used to be my motivation too. Like when we're playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Like our motivation was to either play for a card, which was, God, the stakes for playing for a card back then was so high. Okay, because obviously we didn't have money, so we could buy like 1 booster pack and maybe we'll get like a Blackluster Soldier, if anything, and then we lose that card in 5 minutes after 1 duel. So the stakes back then were really high, but then now that we have some adult money, I did want to get this so I can like kind of fill in the experiences that I didn't have as a child with my niece. So I got this first chapter booster box, and she's been very frustrated. If I'm being dead honest, she's been pretty frustrated because I don't take it easy on her. Okay, I'm trying to teach her how to play properly, and she does beat me fair and square from time to time. And she gets super motivated because then she's like learning her cards more. She's reading through all the effects and everything, and she's 8 years old, you know. So for an 8-year-old to learn this much stuff about a card game, I think is really phenomenal. And she's having a lot of fun either way. So that right there is Lorcana, definitely my most played TCG over the past 2 months. And then after that, most recently, we got to play Tend, which you might have seen the preview for. I'll link it up here as well if you haven't seen that preview. And we did a preview and a review for that. And Tend is definitely a game that I'm backing. I really loved this flip and write. It's a system that I didn't think I was going to like because I was I wasn't big into roll and write type games. It's like, if I have a pencil and paper, I might as well start writing an essay or start doing math in like a math class. You know, I didn't feel like it was a board game. And 10 changes that because it adds in a lot of different and unique components physically and also mechanically as well. That way it makes the gameplay feel like a board game while you're still writing and stamping and scratching off stuff at the same time. So the fact that you're doing multiple different things, I think helps a lot with why I liked 10 so much. Now after 10, got some more AE played, twice actually, back to back. And then I got to play Rock Hard 1977. Now I was super stoked about this game at Essen, and I've heard a lot of rave about it. And I think it's a good game. So overall, how Rock Hard 1977 works is it's a very thematic game because you're trying to become an up-and-coming rock star. And to do so, it is a worker placement game, but you ultimately just go to one spot per turn. And when you go to one spot, you're trying to make money. And I think the most interesting aspect about this game is that you always have to go to work. Because when you go to work, you generate this constant income. But the thing is, when you go to work, you can't do anything else. And I think thematically, it fits perfectly. Because if you want to do other things, then you're going to get a strike from not going to work, from missing work. You're going to get like a missed work counter. And then naturally, 3 strikes are out. So once you have 3 strikes, you are fired from your job. And I did get fired from my job when playing Rock Hard 1977, which I think is one of the funniest things, because after that, you have no choice but then to do freelance full time and really dive into your music career and try to get a record label and then, have a mixtape and everything. and ultimately try to score the most points by becoming the most famous rock star and playing at the biggest venues. So thematically, I think this game really hits it out of the park. It also has a lot of flavor text, which I think is almost too specific that it feels real, which I think is very interesting. Like if those are real backstories, I think that's it's a very unique experience because you learn a lot about what's happened to different people in the music industry. Like some of it's like I know it's kind of a lighthearted game, but if you think about it, some of the things they're kind of some heavy topics. Like there's candy in that game, and when you have too much candy, yes, you can do additional actions, but the candy can have you go into like a sugar rush, and then you can crash, and then you're gonna miss out on work and miss out on different opportunities. So I think a lot of the experiences that this game is trying to tell is absolutely phenomenal, but mechanically, I don't think it varies too much for how it progresses linearly, because yes, you go to work every day, which I think is an awesome teaching experience, but then in the game, you want to make a record label. And the reason why is because when you do that, you get constant income every single round. But in order to get a record label, you have to go first drop a mixtape. And I think the requirement to drop a mixtape is so linear because you have to do that. You have to go get a mixtape. And then once you're done with the mixtape, you never have to go back. Like there's no reason for you to do that again. And then you go straight to your record label. And then when you revisit your record label, you can redo your contract so you can get more money. So I think the teaching experience is here, and it's definitely a game that I can see being put in a classroom or even like a music class in like high school, middle school, college even. I think thematically, Rock Hard 1977 absolutely nails it. I love the production quality with the player boards, and you can switch your dials on your amp to track your stats and everything. There's so many great things going for it, but I think the part that falls flat for me is just the progression system. And I wish that there were more things to do. But it definitely, I feel like the intended audience is definitely to teach and to have people experience what it was like through a board game system. And I think if it was intended to do that, it excels at that so well. Now moving on, after Rock Hard 1977, we also got another round of AE Play. This is the last time we played Andras Edge as of last week. So it's been very recent. And then after that, something super interesting that I want to talk about was Daoshi. Now Daoshi was probably the heaviest game that I played, and we played this at a 3-player count. Dennis, if you're watching, I want a rematch on this one. Okay, so for Daoshi, how this game works is it is a worker placement / engine building game. And I really love this Euro game. So it stems off of the same universe as Bitoku. But in the game, what happens is you're trying to clear up land. And as you do that, you get to generate resources naturally, right? When you clear a forest, you get to utilize the wood and log and all that stuff. But the very interesting part here is that you need to balance that, and you need to balance that from the get-go, because if you do too much clearing, then the gods, the yokai, will be angry with you. And in order for you to appease the gods again, you need to send out a monk. I think it's a monk, right? A monk to pray. And that monk is going to travel, a pilgrim to pray. And that pilgrim can travel across 4 different elements. He can travel across like the river and earth and forest and so on, right? And I think the scoring system here is just so phenomenal. Like there's so much to talk about this game, okay? Ultimately, if I break it down, what you're trying to do is you're trying to build an engine by clearing out land, and you want to build the most efficient factory system. So on your turn, you can either activate your factory, which you can get more inventions to build up your factory more, or you can go and travel across the city and then interact with different people around the city. And you can electrify the city by upgrading different tiles. You can add different parts to the city. And then you can also take 4 different actions while you're in the city as well. So there's so much to talk about in this game. I can go on for like an hour talking about how many things are happening. And I think I want to wait until I give a full dedicated review after playing a couple more times, because I want to explain this right, because I think it's one game that people can really miss out on if the explanation isn't spot on. So please give me some time to work on this one properly, that way I can give you a spot on explanation and really tell you about how much I love this game and why it's such a great hit. So that right there is Daoshi. And then to finish off the month, I got to play Zuus. Now, the thing about Zuus is, so Zuus is a negotiation game. And in it, you're playing as an animal that has a unique power. But the twist is you cannot use your own ability. Instead, you have to bargain with other animals in the zoo to use your ability. That way you can move up on the zoo. And you're trying to move up to the very, very top of the zoo, because once you do, you are guaranteed to at least score in the game, because as you move up, you're going to collect lira or money. And as you collect the money, whoever has the most money by the end wins. But it doesn't matter how much money you have, because if you don't have a spot at the very top of the zoo, you're not going to score in this game. So naturally, it is a very cutthroat type game. But what I wanted to tell you about this game is that it's weird, because I don't know if it's the game or if it's something about it. I feel like it's the game, because in this negotiation type game, every time I've introduced it, I feel like it's brought out the worst in people. And it's kind of funny to say, because like I haven't seen people react this way to any other game except Zuus Vadis. Either they hate it or they love it. And also, even if they had a lot of fun with it, it definitely brings out some unique characteristics in people that I haven't seen before. So it's a good get to know you type game, but you also want to be careful with this one, because playing in the wrong group can definitely make a bad experience, because you have to understand that it is a cutthroat game. One person will not be able to score by the end of this game. And naturally, it's going to make people very, very upset. So you have to be very careful when introducing this game to different groups. No matter what, I still love this game. I don't think people have ruined this experience for me. It's just interesting to watch. I love to people watch around the table. Like I know the game enough, because I'm the one teaching the game usually, to the point where I don't really have to take my turn and think too much about my turn. I don't have much AP anyway. So in the midst of all of that, I like to kind of just look around the table and see how everyone's feeling and what everyone's doing, if they're hungry or anything like that, and to just see how they're reacting on their turn and how they take their turns and like how they understand their actions. Because I just find it so interesting to watch, and it also adds on to my reviews too, when I can see how a game puts people in a unique experience. Zuus Vadis is one game that certainly does that. So that right there is a very interesting and unique game that you got to be careful when introducing to different groups with. So then after that, the last game that I got played that I want to talk, or the last two games actually that I want to talk about, is Avalon, the Riven Veil, which I mentioned in the very beginning of the video. I will have a dedicated review for this one after a couple more plays, but this is going to be a crazy one because it is Arthurian air control. Just think Blood Rage, but Arthurian Legends and amplified with a lot more things that you can do. So that right there is Avalon. We'll be talking a lot about that in the upcoming weeks. And then lastly, the last game to finish this past 2 months of gameplay was Tercape. Now, Tercape, I am so happy that Tercape delivered. I was a little wary of it because of the production. I'm like, okay, it's a big fancy house. It has a dice tower. It has the gimmick, but does it deliver on the gameplay? And is it overhyped? But I'm so glad that it wasn't overhyped for me at all. I will, again, also have a dedicated review on this game as well. But we did get to play it 1, 2, 3, 4 times, back to back to back, two back, last night in Halloween, during Halloween. And I really, really love this game because how it works is there's one killer and there are multiple survivors. And they're also asymmetric killers too, and asymmetric survivors. So everyone has their own ability, but there's always going to be a one versus many. So even if there's only one person playing, they will control 4 survivors. If there's 2 people playing, then two people will control 1 survivor together, and then they will each have their own unique survivor, and so on. And I played as the survivors last night with my cousin, super late into the night. And then we also got to play against my other cousin, who also played as the butcher. And he was so good at the butcher. So it's funny because the butcher moves slow, but he has insane strength and sense. So as a survivor, you're trying to get out of the house. To do so, you need 5 keys, and then you need to have everyone meet at the main entrance, unless you have a secret map, and then you can meet at the secret entrance, which is on the complete opposite end of the mansion. So the other way you can win as these survivors is if you have repaired the radio 5 times. But naturally, when you are repairing a radio, it's gonna make a lot of noise. So noise is very similar to Nemesis in this game, in that when you make noise, the enemy will find out exactly where you are. So when you make noise, the butcher is going to come sprinting over there. And my cousin was super smart because he kept these pursuit cards, because the butcher normally doesn't have too much movement, but he like kept his pursuit cards, and then would be super fast on his turn, because then he can pursuit, and then move. That's 4 spaces, which is halfway across the map already. And then the butcher If the butcher finds you and searches that area, then you're going to have an encounter. And the enemy will have a dedicated amount of strength. The butcher has a ton of strength, which is 5. And as the survivor, you're going to roll these dice. And you need to make sure that you roll at least a 5 or higher. And these dice, you roll 4 dice, and only one side has a 3, and the other sides have a 1 and blanks. So it's pretty hard to roll higher than a 5 already. And that's why in the beginning, we just kept getting killed because I like rushed it. And I tried to go quick and just like try to fix the radio right away. He knows where I am. And I'm like, oh, whatever, I have 2 lives. But then we would lose in like 5 minutes. I'm not joking, like 5 to 10 minutes, the game would be over. And I'm like, hold on. There's no way that it's this easy to kill the survivors. So then I didn't want to change out any survivors. I didn't want to change out any killers. I wanted to keep the same gameplay because I just wanted to see, okay, how does this play out and how do you play this naturally? And I think that's why Tercape is one of those games where you don't want to just play this game once. It's one of those games where you need to experience it several times that way you can understand it. And what I learned being a survivor is that you cannot rush the game. Instead, it's better to just stay quiet, and noise is so bad. Like, you need to make sure you do not make noise. I played as the doctor who can heal 1. And then we also had the athlete who has like who can run really fast, but then he'll make noise at his final destination. And then we also played as the engineer who can have +1 to repair. So instead of repairing, having 1 repair action, when they repair, they can repair twice. So that was our team composition, and we stuck with that the entire time. And what we learned was that you have to go around and search for things and then really build up your arsenal of items. Like, you need to have a pistol, you need to have ammo for that pistol, you need to have an axe that we can break through barricades, because the butcher can make barricades that we can't go through different walls and everything. And then we also needed to have some healing items. Once we did that, once we like took our time to just go around, find items, and stay extremely quiet, then that game was when we finally won, and it was just so satisfying. Like, this game was, I was on the edge of my seat in the very end because we already called the cops, and the cops, it takes 5 turns for them to come back. So once you take 5 turns ultimately to fix the radio, you also take another 5 turns to wait for the cops to come by. So it's a long time, and as you're waiting, you really just want to try to avoid the butcher. But then also another twist to this is that the butcher is going to get stronger with every turn. Every time they cycle their cards out, the butcher gains a level, and when they gain a level, they get stronger cards, they get stronger strength. So there's just so much to talk about this game too, along with Daoshi, but I really, really loved it. And now I want all of the killers, I want all the deluxe, I want everything for this game because of how good it was. So with that said, it was an absolute incredible month of gaming. Thank you all so much for watching and for hanging out with me as I talked about the games that we played in the past 2 months in September and October. Hopefully we get some more gaming in as the holidays come up. Tercape is going to be among those. Daoshi is going to be one of those. I'm hoping to get Tea Garden played. Aquatica, I haven't played the new Aquatica expansion too. So a lot of fun games on the horizon, a lot of fun new content coming your way. If you made it to the very, very end, go ahead and comment run in the comments below, because that right there was what I was doing the entire time for Tercape. I was running away from the butcher. I'm also running away from responsibilities right now in life, and I am running towards getting the next shoot doing. So I feel like that was the theme for this video. So thank you all so much, and I will see you all in the next one.